right. All right, how y'all doing? We have Amber Banfill, and she's out of New Jersey, and she's in the health insurance business, and Prachi Patel. Do you say it different? Patil? How do you say it?
Patil, yeah, it's close enough.
All right, and say a coach. Tell us what you do. Tell us what you coach.
So, to be very honest and to state it very simply, I have conversations with people and not the surface level one, the real ones. And I bring my different lens, my understanding of human nature, how mind works, how emotion work. And from those conversations, things tend to shift how they see their life, how they see things, how they act, how they behave. So basically, I'm into the business of transformations, and that's what I call myself, a transformational coach.
Okay, so we prepared a few questions. I've heard you talk. We're part of the same Toastmasters group,
Yeah.
and there's a couple questions I prepared. One is that moving beyond ideas to a purpose that actually moves the needle. It's how do you get somebody to find their purpose or their what it is that their desire drives them into.
See, the whole finding your purpose is all hyped up these days, to be very honest. Like, you have to find your purpose, you have to know what you are doing and why you are doing this, and it has to be this intense, and it has to be your, major goal of life, and it has to be your career. No, it doesn't. Purpose is, it can be temporary, it can be long term, it can be short term, it can be a hobby, it can be anything. And when we say how we get this moving beyond purpose to get it into real action, there is a force of emotion behind every purpose. Every purpose is basically your why you want to do this, why you want to create this, why you want to achieve this, why you are into this business, why you are doing this job, why you are into this relationship. Purpose is basically your basis of why. And when the force of emotions, when the force that of creation to achieve that purpose is strong enough, you don't need external motivation, you don't need pushing, you don't need any force to take at least initial action. And once you into that action, then there are many things. Then there is some, and how strong do you want to stay attached to that purpose? Then it becomes a choice. It's not naturally, okay, I found my purpose and this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. No, it doesn't have to be, because people are putting a lot of unnecessary pressure on themselves on the word of purpose. I have one client once and he was like, I don't know my purpose, I don't know what to do. And he was doing fine otherwise. I was like, why the hell do you need purpose if you're happy in life? It's just the thinking that I don't have a purpose, that's why I'm going to be unhappy. That's the thought that was keeping him unhappy.
Okay, so I've read many books, heard many speakers, and they talk about that there's people have a passion for one thing, that maybe it's their hobby, right? They spend a lot of time doing it, and then they have an aptitude in another area. And when I look at myself, I didn't know what my aptitude was. I just knew that I could fight, and I wasn't afraid of it. Unfortunately for me, there was a lot of violence in my household growing up.
Mm-hmm.
And so, if I'm in a confrontation with a grown man, my stepfather, I wasn't afraid of somebody my own age or my own size. right? And that's probably why I went that direction. I was never, if you ever to ask Roy Jones Sr. about me, the first thing he's going to say is he was game. He'd fight anybody, right? But I spent a lot of time, and I learned a lot of good things, not just the art of boxing, but I learned about overcoming fears. I learned, if it wasn't for my background in the boxing gym, I wouldn't have been able to be a Navy SEAL. But I didn't figure out my aptitude until I thought I was going to be a STEM teacher. I was in the drone business, and it just made sense. I was learning all about, photogrammetry and LiDAR for surveying, aerial surveying with drones. I was learning about precision ag applications and the difference between a multispectral and a hyperspectral camera. And I was learning about these 3D mosaics and all these different technologies, right? And I was able to process that really fast and be able to talk to experts in that field. So I said I was going to be a STEM teacher. And then I hit college algebra, and that really stumped me. And then I took a class that had half the class was reasoning and statistics, and I didn't even know what that was, right? But it was stuff that I had been working with my whole life, being a free fall jump master and electronics technician. This is all stuff that I'd already had processed and used all the time. I smoked that class, right? And then what I do, what I did in the mortgage business, figuring out debt to income ratios and loan to values and that kind of stuff. And then I apply that to when I'm talking to somebody about their personal finances, all of that I put into what I'm seeing with their personal finances. And I can see how they can get themselves in a better position much faster with the strategies that I know than most other people because of my background, right? So if I'd have known then what I know now, and I put that same effort and passion into that as I did boxing, I would have been way ahead, right? And so, I see other people that have, whatever it's golf or whatever, tennis or, the medieval fighting stuff. They put so much time and effort into that, and they feel good about it. It gives them the dopamine, right? That they look, but it's not really doing anything for them. And so how can somebody get what if you can put that passion behind your aptitude, you're actually launched yourself. Can you address that?
So aptitude, I'm thinking about aptitude is more like skill set, and skill set can be learned. So basically, yes, you like something, you go into that, you want to explore more. Along the way, you learn some skills, you build your skill set, and you become pro in it. And you start to liking it because you have put your effort into that, and you become really good and all that stuff. Like you boxing. Passion is something. Even if you know that you don't want to make anything out of it, not a career, not money, but it just feels good to pursue that. That is the basis of passion for me. Like, for example, I'm a coach. I like it, of course, it's my passion, but I have built my skill set around that. So I can call it, okay, my aptitude, my passion, it's combined. But I like to paint too. I'm a painter. I know I'm not going to do any business. I spend hours painting one painting, literally. I spend money, I spend my time. So passion and aptitude does not have to always go together. And when you say that people spend time on things like they play golf and anything, but It's not going to go anywhere. Even they know that. But we don't know what's it giving them, what kind of feeling they are getting from doing that thing, because no one ever do any damn thing unless they are getting something, some kind of feeling. It's all game of feelings. It's either to gain some kind of pleasure or avoid some kind of pain. That's the only basis of doing anything. So when we see people spending time on activities that we don't feel important, we think, oh, if this guy put this much time into this thing, better into his business or into her this thing or work, they can do so much better. But at the same time, what is that giving them where they are spending time? If we cannot identify that, first thing as a coach for me is to identify that. And I don't know, maybe in your business, when you talk to people, uh, uh, I don't know which route do you take to educate people for the finances and everything, but if you can find that, what that thing is giving them, and is there another better way to give them that kind of feeling that will improve their life to their finances to everything, you know?
Okay,
That's
so you're dovetailing into the next, taking that passion and applying it to their skill set. I mean, for me, um, I left. I had a dire need. I'd left the military. My income dropped off to like half,
Mhm.
and I knew I didn't know enough about personal finances, and so I started just consuming every book you can get on personal finance and debt management. I learned some strategies and I put them to work. I used a debt roll up strategy. I didn't even know how to use Excel. I had a whiteboard behind my bedroom door with all my debts, the highest debt to the smallest debt. Every time I pay my bills, I changed that balance. And when I paid off that first debt, I took that monthly payment and I applied it to the payment of the next smallest debt. So I didn't change my cash flow,
Mhm.
yeah, but I'm getting more out of it. Everything you pay above me on a minimum goes straight to principal, lowering your effective interest rate, paying everything off faster. And I got myself out of debt. And then I answered an ad in the paper as a debt management consultant. And I made almost twice as much money that first month with that company than I'd ever made before, almost twice as much as I made as a Navy SEAL.
Mhm.
And they made me the manager. And then every time I showed somebody how to get out of debt, they start looking at buying a house. So I got my real estate license, started doing mortgages and real estate. Bam, you know, my first year I made like I made like 77,000. The next year I made like 117,000. And then bam, I hit like 200,000 like 5 years in a row. I had months where I made 50,000 in a month. Another month I made like $75,000 a month. 45,000 a month wasn't uncommon. And it was like all of a sudden I'd hit my lane, right? And what I'm like, how am I getting these people, right? Well, I was big with construction lending, and my
Mhm.
hobby was shooting. I'm good at shooting after spending all the years as a Navy SEAL. When we go to the range and you see me shoot the black out of the bullseye with my right hand and do it again with my left hand, you got a pretty good idea. I know what I'm doing. And I'm helping these other people get better with their marksmanship. Well, they all came from the construction business. Those are the guys that go to the shooting range. And that's why I was getting all that business. And that's why I started understanding niches. So by doing those things that you do because you like it and you're good at it, well, other people that want to be at your level, they're going to see you at that competence level and everything else that you do. It's great for your marketing.
Yes. As long as we learn how to apply whatever we have learned, whatever our hobbies are, to incorporate into our business or our work and how we are presenting. And
Right.
you,
And then,
yeah, and you did that basically.
yeah, I mean, nobody told me that. It just all of a sudden I'm like, I started getting a result and I had to analyze where it was coming from. And that's what got me there. And then so that is one way I can see of converging that passion towards something
Yeah.
like a hobby to your to something you have an aptitude for or your business, right? And that's what the next question was like, you know, like taking that passion, because that passion's got power, man. When you have a desire for
Yeah.
something, it things start to happen for you.
Yeah. I agree. Yes.
Yeah, talk about it. I mean, tell me from your side of it, how do you ignite somebody?
Everybody have passion, everybody have desires. And when they see it, the problem is not it's not people don't have enough passion or enough desire. The problem is people see it and people then tend to unseeing it. People do that because when you see your desire, when you see it clearly, it's want, and it seems like, oh my God, it's so big. The passion, oh my God, it's so amazing. But then the second thought, almost next to this thought, second thought is, am I going to get it? Like, am I even eligible to have this? I'm worthy enough to get this. Why I'm even thinking about it? The first thing. The second thing happens is, okay, you have some desires to it, and maybe there is a ray of hope that, okay, yeah, maybe I can do it. Maybe I should try a little bit. They try a couple of things. Then there are people around them they are surrounded with. They talk to those people, and those people, oh my, this might not be a good idea, or maybe this job is more secure, or just take this different path, and they start doubting it. Okay, maybe I shouldn't do this. I already wasted, maybe 2 months, 3 months, and it's not seeing any results. Or maybe I wasted some $100 or $1,000 or something, but it's not yet working. Maybe it's the wrong path I'm taking. People learn to doubt themselves. People learn to doubt their inner nature, their inner want, inner desires. And that's like 85 to 90% people stop there when the doubt creeps in. Because, see, the thing about desire, passion, even inspiration, we have to protect it. Once you have it, once you see it really clearly that, oh, I want this is something, it's feeling good to me, like the thought of having this thing happening to my life, it feels good. Then we got to protect that feeling. And that's where people fail. It's
Well,
not that people don't have desire. Oh, everybody have desire and passion and that madness in them to achieve it. It's just
there. Okay, so there's things that have converged of recent. I got a friend of mine. She's like the smartest person I know on the planet. She's a computational biologist. She's got like 3 master's degrees, working on her doctorate, and she has the ability to explain very complicated things very simply. She's the one that got me to understand how multispectral and hyperspectral imaging works.
oh wow.
Okay,
Okay.
and I ended up getting her a job as the data analyst for a company called Farm Intelligence that was going to use drones for precision ag applications, right? And talking to her about finances up until recently, it was like, I joke around, like when I was with the other company that recruited, I always wanted to talk to mortgage loan officers or accountants because they already know how to look at somebody's bank statements and tax returns and see what time it is, right? But when I would talk to them about financial strategies, getting somebody from where they're at to where they want to be by managing finances right, paying attention to it, it was like trying to teach a drunk woman how to do the contemporary double two-step. They couldn't make that transition from side to the other side, walk, right? Well, this lady, all of a sudden, now, because her mother has Alzheimer's and is in a nursing home, and hospices come in, or she's in hospice now, right? Now she is paying attention because these assets are coming to her, right? So she's got a reason to want to know what's going on with the finances, right? And I see that a lot. If somebody doesn't have enough cash flow to do anything with, you can't talk to them about the best investment in the world with a great rate of return or smoking tax advantages, because they can't touch it because they don't have so then it's getting them to, okay, what are you doing now? I talk a lot about this called synergistic business strategies. It's where you have an aptitude or a knowledge base that you can use for multiple business. I learned this when I was in the Rio Grande Valley. I worked for 7 years for retired Army Ranger, Colonel, Vietnam vet, had a PhD, had his own university. He is either owner or part owner of like 6 different companies that all supported the produce industry. They sold cleaners and degreasers and sanitizers to clean the warehouses, to fight the pathogens. They had consulting services so they could pass their Primus inspections and stay in business. He had a partnership with the scientists that came up with the PCR system for NASA, and they would set them up with their own laboratories so they didn't have to send out their samples and wait 3 or 4 days while that produce is sitting on the warehouse floor, before they ship it out. They could test it right there on the spot. He had these, and that's where I first got to see firsthand how this worked. And in my industry, time is your greatest asset. It's really easy for me to show a 22-year-old kid just graduating from as an HVAC technician or automotive, making $60,000 a year, putting away $650 a month. By the time he's 57, he's a millionaire. Okay. And he doesn't have to work if he doesn't want to. Right. But when you don't have that time, you're in your 40s. Okay. Time's not, you don't have enough time. So you have to have, now your greatest asset is that knowledge base, that ability that with your experience, whether it's in customer service or just dealing with people or accounting or whatever, that you can utilize that and partner with other businesses and have those multiple income streams that now you can get yourself to the finish line. Okay, so with that, I think that dovetails into that whole mindset and understanding, seeing that bigger picture, which I think you're excellent at.
Yes, I don't know how you see it from a financial business point of view, but for when it comes to transformational coaching, it's the base belief is basically every person have that inner wisdom, inner power to change, drop belief, whatever that not working for them, and start living a new life right from this moment. And it works like this. But from business point of view, I agree that yes, age matters. Like the sooner you start investment, of course, money grows that way. I'm curious about, so you are focusing more on what age group you are focusing on, like the recent graduates who are willing to invest more,
Well,
or
all right. So my market is between the ages of 25 and 45, married, they have children, and they own a house with a mortgage. So the strategies that I have are designed to solve their problems, paying a mortgage off faster and saving for retirement, taking that, basically it's using that same money they're going to be paying to service their mortgage debt is actually growing for them for their future. Okay. Or saving for their kids' college in a way that they don't have to spend their assets before their child gets financial aid by the way it's structured. Okay. And what asset they have it in because it doesn't count against them. Okay. Or just like the when I first learned about these family banking strategies, all of a sudden I'm like, oh, this would work ideally. There's a program called NACA, and there's a banner on my website. I'm not an affiliate with them. I just promote them. They can get somebody, a first-time home buyer, in a property, 100% financing, no down payment, no closing costs, no MI, right? They can, the rate is about 1% better than the conforming rate, but you have to adhere to their system, and it's primarily budgeting and financial discipline. Okay. But they can get somebody in a 4-unit, live in 1 unit, and they'll let they'll allow the rents from the other 3 units to help them qualify for the financing. All right. And now they're basically living rent and mortgage free because their tenants are covering that cost for them. Right. And then using these strategies, they could pay that mortgage off in less than 10 years. Right. And they could, qualify for buy their own house. Now maybe they have a family, they got married, they got a kid. Right now it's time to move in their own house. And now they're basically in real estate investing. Right. And I have somebody now that I've known him for a long time, and they had a little shack. They got a deal, private party note, paying 14% for like almost 10 years. And they like, hey, I know the property values are going up here. I told them what to do. I got them, and that now they remodeled. They got this nice house. They got 3/4 of an acre, or I guess it's like 1.5 acres, right? And they read Robert Kiyosaki's book, Rich Dad Poor Dad, and they're all about real estate investing, right? And they're super motivated for that. So I'm like, okay, well, let me share some experiences with you, and how I showed somebody who had a single family, a 4-unit, and a 2-unit, and I helped him buy 14 properties in 14 months. And that guy was the guy that had the crystal ball and sold most of his assets at the same time. He kept the 4-unit, the single family, and the 2-unit, but the mortgage was completely paid off, and he had $2 million sitting in his bank account.
Oh.
Right. And he was just, so with that experience, I can advise people on strategies on what to do. But it was he went 10 years, 4 kids in a 2-bedroom little shack, and now he's got, mama's happy. Mama's got a nice, beautiful kitchen and dining room and living room, and they got a nice place, and he's very motivated in doing more real estate investing. He's got his 2 sons that are going to take advantage of the NACA program and get into some 4 units, and he's getting them started off early, quickly, right? And it's a lot of things. When I look at my situation, it's that mindset you carry over from your upbringing that you've got to cut away. You got to look at it and go, yeah, I love my dad, all right, but some of his advice wasn't always the best, right? It's a different time, or there's, I understand something more now that's better than what he taught me then. And it's that being able to have your mind open. And then there's a difference, if to know and not to do is not to know. Right. And when you see some information and you trust that source of information, you should be able to take action on it. Okay. And so that, am I saying anything that resonates with something, that you can talk about?
Yes. So it basically, all this finance, investment, whatever it is related to money, and especially your kind of business. I guess Amber is into life insurance and you are into finance and all that stuff. It all starts how relationship with money. and not just yours, the person you are talking to. If you are into the finance business, the first, if I have a client who I'm coaching him, and if he's into the business of finance, the first thing we would focus on what is your own relationship with money, and if you can identify the relationship with money, the person sitting next to you. If you can do that, the half war is you are winning already, because every person have totally different relationship with money. It's sometimes it's fear, sometimes it's anger, sometimes it's like, okay, if I get more than this kind of money, then I'll be a bad person. Fear of getting more money, I have seen that. Like, oh, if I become super rich, then I will be a mean person, or I will bully people, or that kind of stuff. Or sometimes if they believe that if I get a lot of money, I'll just waste it. I'll just do drugs and pubs and all that stuff, cruises, and I'll just blow money, so it's better I don't have that kind of money. People have whole different kind of reasons to not having enough money, and it's how they are wired since their childhood, what they have seen around them, what they feel their thoughts are true about money. And so, unless you identify someone's relationship with the money, it's very difficult to, you know, get them as a customer, first thing. And the second thing is, we get to check our relationship with money too, because even you are into the business of finance. Amber is into the business of life insurance. You guys have a different kind of relationship with money.
So
Like,
with what you're saying, right? I remember when I was first educating myself, I read a book by Susie Orman. Now, Susie Orman is doesn't like life insurance, right? She doesn't like,
mhm.
she's
Oh,
got a,
okay.
or annuities, whatever. But she did say something in her book that says your earliest money memory affects how you
Mhm.
deal with the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Okay. And so it made me think back on what was my earliest money memory. Oh, you're going to laugh at me. So I'm like 4 or 5 years old, and my father and I were watching the Jackie Gleason show, and he had the June Taylor dancers kicking up their legs. And I asked my dad, Dad, where did he get those pretty ladies? And he said he paid for them. And I ran to my bedroom and I grabbed my piggy bank. I jumped up in his lap, and between tooth fairy money and money I found under the cushions of the couch of the car, right, I had $11.22. And I go, my dad counted out. I go, is that enough to buy a pretty lady? And he goes, almost, right? And then about a year later, my mother was in the hospital, and I was really worried. I thought she had cancer or something. It was something, I don't know, something female problem. And I was staying with my grandmother, and my dad came in wearing a brand new pair of bib overalls and sat me on his lap and pulled out a wad of bills about 3 inches in diameter and waved it in front of my face and said, smell that? Don't ever forget that smell. And to this day, I can still recognize the smell of money. But the thought that went through my mind was, Mom doesn't know he has this much money. And he just had his first harvest. He bought a farm and he just had his first harvest. That's where the money came from, right? But ever since then, in my relationships, I was always very conscious that my spouse
Mhm.
knew what was coming in, what was going out. Okay.
Mhm.
And because of that. So that makes total sense. That's probably a good question to ask somebody. What's your earliest money memory, right? My
Yeah.
mom, my mom, she'd always tell these stories. Her first job after she graduated high school was a maid for the heirs of the Old Crow Whiskey Company. And they were a bunch of alcoholics, and she would like hide the alcohol, and got to the point they even were drinking the vanilla extract, and she bought non-vanilla extract, right? But my mom has a disdain for people who have money.
Mhm.
My mom didn't like me when I was making $200,000 a year,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? But it was, so it's that resonates what you're saying.
Yeah.
Their how their background,
Yeah.
relates to other people. Just look at, like, it's too hard to make the kind of money to have the nice things, or have be financially set. it's too hard, but I know that you're going to work just as hard on a minimum wage job as you are in a business that you can make a lot of money. It's just being in the lane,
Yeah.
being, in the right market. I was telling Amber about, my hobby of shooting. All of a
Yeah.
sudden I started getting all these construction loans coming at me. I'm like, where are they coming from? Well, I was helping guys shoot better at the range, and they all came from the construction background. They were all civil engineers, land
Mm-hmm.
surveyors, general contractors, people that worked for general contractors. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, that was my niche.
Mm-hmm.
There's
Yeah.
certain types of people that you come from this, if you like, I figured out like 60% of the people that are my clients have a similar background. There's one big client, the consultant for SpaceX. Uh, for the first day we met, his favorite uncle was a Navy SEAL, right like that. That relationship got established,
Wow.
right?
Yeah.
Everybody has their favorite uncle, right? And that helped with that. I mean, that bridged that gap very quickly in our
Mhm.
relatability.
Yes. See, the thing is, Ruben, about you, you learned at very early age to be out of your comfort zone. And Navy SEAL just, going through that training itself to become a Navy SEAL. It just there you I have read the book by Can't Hurt Me, David, I forgot his name.
David Goggins.
Yes. And I
Yeah.
read that and I was like, oh my God, that stuff. So the mindset of being out of your comfort zone, being uncomfortable is natural to you. This is something that doesn't come to everybody. You are trained into that through your activities, actions, whatever life decisions, boxing. And when people don't want to get uncomfortable, business is not the place for them. That's why they stick to minimum wage job, even if it's a hard work. And it's, to be honest, sometimes it's just, we just cannot judge anyone based on that. I mean, they just haven't seen it enough to step out of their comfort zone, maybe.
Oh yeah, I learned from boxing, and the SEAL teams. Like, there's like a 75 to 80% attrition rate in Bud's training,
Yeah.
right? I mean, and I went through Hell Week twice. I did it two
Wow.
times, right? And I remember paying attention the second time, you know, before breakfast on Monday morning, 44 guys had quit already.
Yes.
I'm like, I can stand
It's
on my
tough.
head. Well, compared to what? I mean, I worked a lot harder on the farm growing up than I did, going through Bud's training, right? And that just was like every day. That's just how it was, right? And the looking at in the boxing gym,
Hmm.
I mean, you got a guy that knows what he's doing, throwing punches at you with everything he's got, right? And you got to learn to function in that environment. You got to learn to be able to, not freak out. You got to deal with it. The when you see Amber here on her picture, Amber, did anything we're talking about resonate with you? Is she paying attention?
Ah,
See,
she's
here she
there.
comes.
Hi. I'm so sorry. I'm with a client. I do apologize.
Okay. Were you able to hear this conversation?
I have been listening. Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Is anything that was talked about that you could add to?
So I definitely love, like, really do love Miss Patel's her views on passion versus basically necessity. So when you do something that you love, everything just seems a little bit easier.
Yeah.
And
Oh yeah, that's that whole. If you can find, if you can figure out how to, make a living doing that thing that you love, you're always going to be successful.
I mean, it's not completely true also. I mean, yeah, you can do things you love, but will you be successful doing those things?
That is something I understand 100%. So I did not get into the insurance world because I loved it. I actually got into the insurance world because I saw several people at such a young age that suffered because they could not afford healthcare or they were denied healthcare. I've watched people, lose their lives because now they're scared to go to a doctor because they're afraid of that huge bill. So that's what drove me to get into insurance. We refer to it in this industry as saving lives because you take your time, you educate, you make it make sense, and now people can get treatments that they're not able to get before because they were either uneducated or too nervous to take that step. So that's honestly why I work with insurance. And for you, Ruben, with the life insurance, the annuities, that's also promoting financial happiness, wellness. With life insurance, you're not getting it, to have, you're getting it to take care of the people that you leave behind, basically. To get out of debt, you're doing that as well for that financial security. So I feel like anybody in this industry, you don't do it just because it's the money. You do it because you're trying to provide a service. You're trying to help somebody. So in your own sense, we're in the industry because it is our passion to help individuals.
Yes. And see, that's the purpose. That's we call when the why is strong, it's very easy to sustain in whatever business. So like Amber is passionate, she knows her why clearly. And so she might have some different passions too, but they don't bring money, but they don't, I mean, they are just there for herself to feel good or to, I don't know, give some emotional satisfaction, feeling seen in her, that kind of thing. So passion doesn't always have to be our profession. But
Well,
it's
I've
good.
seen
It
like I was telling,
definitely helps, though, when you are passionate
Yeah,
about what you do.
exactly. It helps to sustain a long term, when you know your why. But then we
my
can
friend.
always have your little bit passion and hobbies on side, which are
Yeah,
not our business.
correct.
Well, I have a friend that's really intelligent, right? And I've known her for a long time. And now, because there's this situation with her mother, now the finances are important to her. Right. Right. And
True.
it's the guy that you know, now he read Rich Dad Poor Dad. Right. Now he's just passionate about real estate investing and trying to figure out how to do it. He's got his house, right? He's got mama's got a nice house to live in, right? But it's like he wants more. He wants to be that real estate investor, and he's seeking all the answers he can to make that happen. There's something, that switch hit, that door, he saw that door open that he didn't see before.
Yeah.
And that's, the whole reason I go to Toastmasters. I'm not trying to win the international speech contest. I want to be able to articulate what I do in a way that have the effect that this guy did reading Rich Dad Poor Dad. I want people to be able to hear what I'm saying and see that door open for them. And then I can help them.
I love that.
Yeah. So I have heard your speeches, Ruben, at Toastmasters. And of course you are a good speaker, no doubt about that. So the question I have for you is, when you are talking about your services, or it's not about just getting people educated, it's what kind of emotion does it bring into you, and is it projected that way to the person in front of you? Because this business is a relationship business, it's a connection business. To be honest, Not just, okay, you buy this policy, you do this thing. No, you actually connect with the person in front of you. You have to be. So how you can build stories, or what kind of stories can you build with emotions? I'm not saying emotional manipulation or anything like that. No, it doesn't work. I know that. What kind of stories will help the person in front of you to see that there are different doors open, instead of saying, oh, I'm doing this financial advising things, come to me, I'll give you all the information. Instead of doing that, what else? So that I would like to challenge you on. So your next speech as Toastmaster, whenever you give it,
Yeah,
what
Monday.
kind of story, what kind of emotion do you bring to see people that there are door always open for them, no matter what situation they are in? And it has to be related to finance, because you're into finance business. That's the
Right.
challenge for you. That's what I do for a living. I'm a coach. Come on.
Yeah, you're going to be my evaluator on Monday.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay, I hear what you're saying. It's like, I think back, I'm my paradigm is in the boxing ring and in going through SEAL training, right? And there are guys at the weigh-in table, or the weigh-in, or at the glove table, and they're just, they're in my dish, they're trying to, and I'm like, oh. And I learned something. I learned that whenever people are like that, they're yapping, they're being aggressive in their language, they're trying to intimidate. And they're trying to intimidate because they're trying to hide something that they're doing, and usually that they ain't been training. And so when I would hear that, I'm like, ooh, let's see what you're hiding. I'm pretty good at finding that. Usually it's in the solar plexus, right? And or going through SEAL training, right? I mean, it was like I would see guys freaking out. It's raining. Yeah, it was raining on me too. And I grew up in northern Michigan, so I'm like, I knew what real cold was, right? When you walk outside, you take a breath and your snot freezes inside your nose, right? I mean, that was real cold, right? But people are shaking like a leaf, and I'm like, this isn't bothering me, And it was that mindset. It's just that they let the fear get a hold of them. A lot of things that, like laziness. Laziness is just fear of doing something that's uncomfortable. They don't want to do it, right? Whether it's taking out the trash or doing the dishes, right? Even, but it's that letting that fear get a hold of them, and going and talking to a client, going and asking for the money. That can be a challenge. I had a hard time asking people for their social security number because I didn't give anybody my social security number.
Exactly.
But if that was an indicator to me, if somebody didn't want to give me their social security number, what is it that you're worried I'm going to see? Right? Is it, when was the last time I learned this. When was the last time you were late on a bill? Right? And that'll give me a pretty good indicator, what they tell me, whether they're going to qualify or not, right? Or whether it's worth my time to even pull their credit, right? I don't do that anymore. That's not part of my business, right? I'm not in the mortgage business anymore. But when I was, that was a barrier to the deal. Weren't willing to cooperate. There's a 3 strikes rule, right? If somebody's not cooperative, they don't give you the social security number. They don't tell you where their money's, how much money they have and where it's at. They don't commit to a follow-up, right? They get 2 strikes. 3 strikes, you're out. They're a doctor, lawyer, teacher, engineer. They think they're smarter than you are. They get 1 strike, right? If they have a foreign accent, nothing against anybody from another country, but as an American, I have a trust factor to overcome. 1 strike doesn't disqualify you. But I learned that if I got 2 strikes, I would do a subtle takeaway, man, maybe you're not ready to do this right now, but tell you what, who do you know? And I would ask them exactly for the person, they're 25 to 45, they're married, they got kids, they own a house with a mortgage, or they're a small business owner, because I got things that can help them, right? If they're interested, they'll tell you right now. And if they think of somebody, they'll tell you. And when they give you that referral, you're halfway there because they've already pre-qualified them for you.
Mhm.
And so I'm not afraid of the no. Little quick, I was a venture capital broker, right? Like one of my first sales jobs ever, right? 200 phone calls a day for like 8 months,
Oh,
right?
I
And
just
I'd
went
send
into that.
I'd send out like 1 or 2 packages, and a day I closed like 1 in 12. On this one day, I sent this guy the package. I wasn't closing yet. My manager was closing, and he overnight the guy the package. The next day he's like, he's not interested. Now my manager had the voice and the disposition of Carlton the doorman, real flat, right? And this guy, I got real excited. So I thought there was a conflict in their energies. So I called the guy back. I said, well, did you have a problem with Joel? He's like, no. So what happened? He goes, my wife said I can't. I'm like, what do you mean your wife said you can't? Did you tell me you made all the investment decisions? He's like, well, not really. I go, you lied to me. And he didn't like that very much. And the whole office was like, I'm like, what? He lied to me. I'm going to call him every day. And I called him every day for about 2 weeks. And finally, he put his wife on the phone. Well, it was her money. And I'm like, oh, I understand. This is venture capital. This is like going to Vegas and shooting craps, But if this does as well as we think it's going to do, it could mean the difference between whether you're driving a motor home or a motor coach in your retirement. I'll tell you what, if you give me a referral of somebody who does business with me, I'll let you in for half a unit, just 5,000. She referred me to her boss, and he did 3 units, $30,000. And so she did, 5, right? But from that point on, I wasn't afraid of the no, right?
Yeah.
It's who you know, okay? And it's that what I found out, like Amber's in health insurance, right? You know how many people think when I'm an insurance agent, they think that's what I do too, or P&C, property and casualty. No, I'm in the life insurance and annuities business. Why? Because there's significant tax advantages because if you have IRS code 7702 alpha, if you have your assets in a life insurance contract, all right, it grows tax deferred and a tax advantage or tax free when you take it out. And it's flexible, up to 90% you can access in an awash loan, which means there's no interest and no taxes. And you can do things with that kind of flexibility with any kind of account. It just happens to be when there's life insurance attached to it, you have those advantages. And explaining that gets lost in translation most of the time because people have another idea about, because of their experiences with life insurance or with health insurance or in their car insurance.
Mm-hmm.
So it's that teaching that drunk woman how to do the contemporary double two-step.
Oh, wow.
I've done that. No. So anyway,
That was funny.
well, I appreciate having you both on here. There'll be the whole video will be up on YouTube shortly, and StreamYard does makes these really good shorts. It finds the interesting topics and it makes the shorts for it. But I really appreciate you having you both on. And Prachi, I love hearing because you're digging into the mind, and when you talk about what you do, and that's why I wanted to have you on, because that's a big challenge in what I have. It's like, okay, people have these paradigms or misconceptions that I have to break. I have to get them through.
Those are paradigms and misconceptions to you. Those are very real to them. So to get to know people, we have to enter their world. You just see You just tell, okay, I'm Navy SEAL, I have done this much, I have this much experience, I have done this much, I have raised this much cash. And that's true. I totally appreciate it. I have totally respect for that. But for someone who is standing to, it's not their word. No matter how much you tell them, they're not going to relate to it. So they say, oh, okay, good for this guy. He is amazing. Okay. But my life is different. My way is different. And whatever it is that we see that, okay, it's not even true, that's not true, whatever it is, but it's very true to them. Every person's world is very true to them. And as we see it, okay, even my husband's world is not very real and true to me, because like, what the hell, you don't understand such a simple thing. I do that with my husband too, but it's very real to him. And once I start to understand that, we change ourselves, how we serve, how we put our business, how we put ourselves out there. Because our world is very real to us, so the other person's world is very real to them. Maybe it's not similar to us. I mean, no way.
Well,
It's not.
I've seen, I'm talking about two people,
Yeah.
the smartest person I know and my other friend, right? I've seen their perception change.
Yeah, they change when they see it. And our job is to make them see it without making them feel that they are wrong in their world. And that's the skill.
I agree with that. You make it make sense, but you have to be personable first. You have to get them to open up so you understand what the problem is that you can fix.
Not just telling this is wrong, this is not going to work out, or you should do this or you should do that. No, because they are doing what is right for them already.
Yeah, I've seen them come to this understanding, having their epiphany on their own, and it took a long time. I just would like to get it there. I would just like to have it happen quicker.
Yeah, of course. We are
Right,
into
right.
business, so but yeah, it depends. I mean, some people have it like this, some people take long time, some people never get it. I mean, that's fine
That's
too.
very true.
Yeah,
All right. Well,
great.
a great weekend, and
You too. It was
I'll get
nice
this.
meeting you, Amber, listening
It
to you
was
rather.
very nice. Thank you.
Mhm.
Right.
Okay, Ruben, I'll see you at Toastmasters.
All right. Bye bye.
Bye, Ruben.
Bye.
Bye bye.